welcome back to Presley Mania. My name is Rhonda, and thank you so much for joining me on my channel today. I want to continue our discussion about Lisa Marie's book, From Here to the Great Unknown. And I have got several things that have been bothering me about it. First of all, let's talk about what is not being said, okay? There were some startling revelations in her book, things from her own mouth that we had never heard before. There was some incriminating dialogue, and it is things that we really weren't aware of. And I feel like that things are being glossed over where her book is concerned, or it's being taken to benefit somebody else. Okay, what am I talking about and where am I going with this? Well, let me tell you. Okay, Lisa made some comments in her book, and we'll just start with one of them. Ginger Alden, for one. At that point, my dad was dating Ginger Alden. He had had a bunch of different girlfriends, and I liked most of them. There was Sheila Kahn and Linda Thompson, who I loved. I could tell Linda really cared about me and my dad. When they broke up, he didn't tell me, and I ran up to give his girlfriend a hug, thinking it was Linda, but it turned out to be Ginger. I didn't mind Ginger, but I didn't like her. Nobody did. Okay, well, apparently that was news to Ginger. And so now she is defending herself against Lisa's book. And I feel like this is the problem. If Lisa said something in the book, people are now rushing to try and defend themselves. Why? Just stop. This is Lisa's opinions. These are Lisa's words. What she said about her grandmother and the drinking, and that when her dad became famous, she just and was going to have to leave and go to the army, that Gladys started drinking a whole lot and that kind of thing. And that started another backlash. The fact that Riley said that they all knew that Lisa had a bowel obstruction, but they felt like she really died from a broken heart. It's another thing. My question is this: why take the things that are being said and spin them to your advantage? Why don't we talk about what's really important in this book? And that is the abuse that Lisa Marie went through from the beginning of her life, even before she was born. I would venture to say even in utero, that she went through to the very end. Nobody's talking about that. Nobody is going into detail about what happened to her, even when you look back on the book tours that Riley did. No one brought up the hard stuff. People talk about the fact that she had Benjamin on dry ice in her house for a while, but no one bothers to mention that it was during COVID, and everybody wants to focus on the weird aspects. They want to focus on the relationship with Michael Jackson. But in my opinion, what Lisa's book mainly is about, it's Lisa. And I think it's very sad that at the one time that Lisa has for it to be all about her, for the focus to be all about Lisa Marie, it's being stretched and pulled by other people. And let's make this about me. Let's make this about me. Oh, this gives me an opportunity to do this. This gives me an opportunity to do that. Make some money. Whatever. No. No, that is not what this book is about. This book is about Lisa Marie. It's her words straight from her mouth. And I'm going to be honest and tell y'all that I feel like there is so much more. And I'm wondering if we're going to hear more things once there are some people who have passed from this earth or gone. And why do I say that? Because Riley states that she had 16 tapes. 16. Full of her mother's stories and words. Yet this book is a mere 281 pages. Decent size print. That's not 16 tapes worth. Not only that, some of this book is Riley filling in. So it's not all of Lisa's words. There is a big chunk of it that is left out towards, I would say, the end, from probably the time the twins were born to the end. I would say the majority of that part of her life has been left out. Why? I don't know. But I guess, hopefully, we will get that information some point later in time. Maybe we will, maybe we won't. It remains to be seen, but I hope we do. I hope we do. But I would like to talk about what I feel like is the important things in Lisa Marie's book. It gives us it's like it opened up a window for us to look inside to who Lisa really, really was. I think Lisa was a very misunderstood person. I feel like that even I can remember before she passed, there would be people who would say things, about her like, oh, she's such a rebel. Oh, she's such a wild child. But after the book came out, if you thought that about her, maybe you can realize now after reading it or listening to the Audible why she was the way she was. Why the events in her life formed what she became. And why do I say that? Because I feel like this book is filled with abuse after abuse of Lisa Marie Presley. My heart breaks for her. My heart broke when I read this book. I found it an incredibly hard read. The things that she went through from as a child all the way up through her adult life, to me, is just heartbreaking. Literally heartbreaking. And I want to talk about some of that today. First of all, I already mentioned the deal about Ginger. Let's talk about Michael Edwards a little bit. YouTube will not allow me to use the words, so we're going to say the SA acts that were committed upon Lisa by him. But that doesn't even skim the surface of everything that happened between Lisa and Michael Edwards. Michael Edwards was abusive towards her. Not just, well, I would have to venture to say it was probably physical and I would say mental as well. So let's talk about some of that. Physical abuse. We know about the SA staff. And Lisa went into a lot more depth about that than had ever been done before. People are like, well, she didn't say all that on the Howard Stern show. Well, no, she didn't. But if you were on camera, would you talk about it like that? Probably not. I wouldn't have. And this is something that came out in the memoir. So Michael Edwards is denying all of it. But he even said in his own book, in his own words, that it really happened. And it was far worse than anyone ever imagined. Not only that, did you know that Lisa smarted off at him one day because he had said something about some clothes she had laying on top of the dryer? And she smarted off, and he got mad, and he picked up a dining room chair and he threw it at her, and it hit her in the back. That's child abuse. Did you know that the parties that he and Priscilla would go out in the evenings, and they would go party, and they would come back to the house, and they were doing cocaine? And yet, how many times have we heard that, oh, Lisa was a drug abuser, oh, Lisa did this, oh, Lisa did that? She learned it from her mom. Her mom was doing it, but yet nobody ever talks about the fact that Priscilla was doing drugs. No. She talks about after they came in from going out on a date night and they did some cocaine, and they went, she and Edwards, Priscilla and Edwards, went to the bedroom and shut the door. Lisa could hear things being thrown, furniture flying, and yelling and screaming by Edwards. Really? What kind of environment is that for a young child? Let's talk about the chicken incident. So Priscilla decides to make dinner one night, and she makes chicken, and Lisa cuts into her chicken to realize that it's not done. So Lisa says, Mom, the chicken isn't cooked all the way through. Edwards got mad, flipped his plate. It ends up hitting the wall. Basically blesses Lisa out for opening her mouth about it, because Priscilla had gone to the trouble to cook dinner. But really, you can't eat raw chicken. It's unhealthy. You know, we all know that. Maybe he did. I don't know. And then he gets up, and one of the things that Lisa loved to do was listen to heavy metal bands on a record player, on her albums. He goes in, and he gets the scissors, and he comes back in holding up the end of the cord, the plug-in, to her record player where he had cut it in two. That seems like mental abuse to me. The fact that Priscilla was so into herself. Let's read this, Lisa's own words, okay? Page 87 of Lisa's book. Lisa is now somewhere between 10 and 13, okay? And she said, at this point in my life, my mom was trying to have a career. She was trying to be a model and an actress, and she was doing commercials. So she left town quite a bit. And as crazy as this sounds, Edwards was there more than my mother. I was more used to having him around than her. Abuse? Let's talk about abuse by our mother. You have got a mother who knows at this point that he has done very horrible things to your child. And you confronted him about it, and he basically says to Lisa, I'm sorry, but that's how things are done in Europe. No, that's not right. So instead of Priscilla at that moment kicking him out of the house and saying, don't you ever come back in here ever again. I don't ever want to see you. I don't want you around my child, much less around me. Get out. No, instead of Lisa being the number one priority, she kept that man around in their house for years. And as Lisa states in her book, left town, and Lisa was around him more than she was around her. What do you call that if you don't call that abuse? What do you call the fact that Lisa Marie was 9 when Elvis left? Correct? Where was the only place that she loved more than any? Memphis, right? Being with her dad, being with her cousins, her dad's family. What does Priscilla do? She holds that over Lisa's head. Either you do what I tell you to, you act the way I want you to, or guess what? You do not get to go to Memphis. Now, I know a lot of parents do those kind of things, say, you straighten up and do this. But Lisa had just lost her father. The one person that she says in her book knew that she knew in her heart that he truly, truly loved her. She felt loved by him. But Lisa says in her book that she feels like from utero that she was never wanted by her mother. Let me see if I can find in here. I know it's in here right here. My apologies, I should have had this marked. Okay. Oh, I'm so sorry. Here we go. She says that Priscilla was more concerned about what she looked like while she was pregnant, the fact that she didn't want to be pregnant. So let's listen to Lisa's own words about her mother. Okay? My mother told me that she had thought about trying to fall off her horse to cause a miscarriage. She didn't want to gain pregnancy weight. She thought that wouldn't be a good look for her as Elvis's wife. There were so many women after him, all of them beautiful. She wanted his undivided attention. She was so upset that she was pregnant that initially she'd only eat apples and eggs and never gained much weight. I was a pain in her backside immediately, and I always felt she didn't want me. I believe in energy in utero, so maybe I already felt her vibe of trying to get rid of me. But at the time, she didn't have great maternal instincts. That might be what's wrong with me. What do you call that? I call it abuse from the very beginning, and Lisa felt it. When Elvis and Priscilla divorced, Lisa always wanted to be back in Memphis. When it was time for her to leave and go back and spend time with her mom, she didn't want to go. But let's visit this issue. Priscilla obviously did not want Lisa Marie around that much anyway. Why do I say that? Because she was constantly finding a place for her to go. She was shipping her off to camps where she would go and stay. She was trying to find schools where she could be admitted, and if a school didn't work out, she'd send her somewhere else. She even talked about sending her off to other countries to go to school. Yeah. Does that sound like a mom who is interested in the fact that her child had just lost her dad? And what does she crave more than anything? Parental guidance and love. But she never got that from her mom. I think what has brought all of this to the forefront for me, well, there's several things. It's what I've heard other people saying about the book. And then there was the little clip I saw of someone talking to Priscilla about the book. And Navarone, her son, is standing in the background, and you can see him, and this reporter or whoever comes up to her and asks her, what did you think about Lisa's book? And she goes, oh, the book, oh, I think it'll do great. I think it'll do great. Yet you said at Riley's book tour you've never read it. But she knows what's in that book. Why do I say that? Because of this. She says, when asked, she goes, oh, my daughter, I love her to death, but she always said things, and then regretted it later. So what are you saying, Priscilla? Are you saying that the stuff in this book are things that she probably would regret having said? No, I don't think so. These are her words. And unfortunately, the majority of it, if not all of it, comes back to you. From what you did the minute you found out you were pregnant, how you took care of your body and the child that was growing inside of you, who you subjected her to, the things you subjected her to say nothing about the fact that you joined Scientology, which you knew Elvis wanted no part of. None. How do we know that? Because there's documentation saying that they had reached out to him, and he went and he talked to him, and he got in the car and he told the guys that I want nothing to do with them. All they want is my money. I don't know if many of you have seen, there's a YouTuber called Serge Delmar, and he is someone who grew up in Scientology as a child, and he talks about all of it. Well, he has been going through Lisa's book, and I have found it eye-opening because he isn't looking at this from an Elvis fan's point of view. He is looking at her book from a Scientology point of view. And the things that he says all go back to Priscilla. And why is that? It's because she's the one who got her in it. Lisa at first thought Scientology might be cool. It might be a good thing. There were cool people in it. But in the beginning, Scientology really only wanted Priscilla. And why is that? Because they thought she had millions upon millions of dollars. Serge says that when she would walk into the Scientology Center, actually he had a lady who was there on many occasions when Priscilla would walk in. And they said it was just like, oh, what can we get you? Oh, what can we get you? And, you know, snap her fingers and they'd bring her some water, or, oh, let's do this, or, oh, let's do that for her. She was treated like she was some kind of queen. Elvis Presley's ex-wife gets treated like royalty, and her daughter gets treated like crap. Can you imagine Lisa Marie as a small child? We're talking 10, 11 years old, and what she needed more than anything was professional help and therapy to process the fact that her father was gone from her life. But did she get that? No, she got Scientology. Holding on to cans and them auditing her for hours and hours and hours and having her recount the story of what happened to her over and over and over where her father was concerned. Do you think that's helpful? I certainly don't. But yet Priscilla agrees to this. Probably paid him money to put her in school at Scientology. Check out some of Serge's videos, because they go into detail about the things that children in Scientology were exposed to. And I don't feel like Lisa was any different than the rest of them. And like I said, Lisa at the beginning thought it was probably a good thing, a cool thing. But she found out as she got older that it was not. And that it was horrible. And it was the things they did to people, to children. It was horrific. And they hurt them. And she says in her book here, I was going to see, I had this marked. And I took it off because, funny story, I recorded this video yesterday and I had almost finished it, and all of a sudden my light and my microphone fell off my desk, and so I've had to completely re-record it, and a lot of my bookmarks and stuff have come off as a result of all of that. But Lisa talks about in this book here about when, after she had had the twins and she had gotten hooked on opioids, there was also a time when she had left Scientology. It was when she had left Scientology, and she felt like she had lost her family. The one thing that held her feet to the pavement, the one thing that was consistent in her life. And she realized that it was just all a farce and a joke, and that it wasn't what she had thought it was, and that it had been ripped out from under her because she grew up and she realized that she didn't want to be associated with that type of religion. It's not a religion, it's a cult, that she wanted nothing to do with it. And in fact, Lisa was doing things behind the scenes to help, put them out of business, so to speak. And she said that she started doing more drugs because it was a coping mechanism for her. She wasn't coping. And it just breaks my heart. She would have never been involved in that had Priscilla not put her in it. She would have had nothing to do with it. And I feel like this book, and I can go more into it at some other point if y'all are interested, but I feel like this book is just an eye-opening thing, and it shows how unloved Lisa was by her mother. She says that Priscilla acted like she was some kind of trophy. I believe that. I so totally believe that. And it upsets me. And when I think about the interview that she did, and I was talking, the one where Navarone was standing, and Navarone is just standing there in the background, condescending, looking like, oh, the book, oh, the book. Oh, and like he's so proud of his mother. And Priscilla, I don't think it's ever treated Navarone the way she treated Lisa. Lisa was an inconvenient convenience for her. That's the best way to put it, I think. Inconvenient in that she didn't want her, but convenient because of her, she was able to live a very high-end, wealthy lifestyle. It's sad. Lisa truly was the goose, the golden goose to her. She really was. And it's heartbreaking. I hope that you guys will go back. I've gone back and I've reread several parts of this book. I intend to listen to the Audible again because every time I open it up, I see something else that I didn't see before. And I feel like that we need to look at it from Lisa's point of view. Not from a point of view of, oh, how does this benefit me? Or, oh, she said this about so-and-so. Who cares? Who cares? These are her words. Straight from her mouth. Straight from her heart. If people don't agree with them, they don't agree with them. But it's okay for them to have their opinion, but it's not okay for her to have one. It's not okay for her to talk about how she felt after her dad left in August of 77. Not about her feelings of what she saw, what she heard, what she literally observed as a child going on at Graceland and around her dad and around her mom. No, y'all, this is her story. This is her memoir, her words. I hope that there is more to come on this. I don't know if my heart can take it because this was difficult on its own to read for me. But the book basically stops going into detail about anything after the twins are born. It doesn't talk about Lockwood, her marriage to Lockwood. It doesn't talk about all of the bad deals that happened with Elvis Presley Enterprises. The fact that Priscilla was taking money to the tune of $900,000 a year from Lisa's trust. It doesn't go into that. Riley does say in this book that after I guess while she was pregnant with the twins or shortly after they were born, that Priscilla and Lisa had mended their fences. But it doesn't talk about the fact that the fence broke again. And why was that? Because she started finding out more and more about all of the things her mother had done behind her back. Again, abusing her and using her for her own personal gain. Lisa has always been blamed for being irresponsible with money, for being irresponsible with drugs, for being irresponsible with any and everything. Irresponsible in her relationships. But think about it this way, y'all. Who does she learn from? That's right. She learned from her mom by watching. She watched her mom do drugs. Okay? And I want to put a story straight out here. Yes, when Lisa was young, she did some drugs. But this book says that she had a party, and I guess it was at the Scientology hotel where she was living at the time. And she was young, and she had this party, and it had been like, I guess, a several-day bender. And she woke up one morning, and she's like, I want nothing to do with this ever again. I'm done. She tells everybody, get out. It's over. The party's over. No more parties. And she stayed clean. She stayed clean. I don't think Lisa was ever addicted to drugs at that time. I think she was experimenting with drugs. I think it could have become a very dangerous habit. Lisa became addicted to drugs, to opioids, after she gave birth to the twins. And that accelerated into other things. But Lisa cleaned herself up again. She did. She cleaned herself up. And what was she doing at the end of her life? I find it so heartwarming to think. She was holding grieving sessions at her house for people who had lost their children. And they would get together and they would talk. And they would bond over things that had happened in their lives. And they would share. And they would try to help each other get through the grieving process of losing a child. That is such a credible thing to do. And I think Lisa needs to be remembered for those things. And I think we need to look at this book and we need to read it, and we need to read it with our eyes wide open. Stop listening to what everybody else is picking out. Read it with an open mind. Look at it from her point of view. Listen, and if you have the Audible and you listen to it, put yourself in her place. Imagine being her. How would you feel? How would you feel to have a mom who put you in situations like she was put in? How would you feel if you were left alone and that the only one person that you felt loved you more than anything else in this world was out of your life? Would it cause you to act out? Probably. And especially because you crave the love of someone else that you were never shown. These are just my thoughts on the book. I hope that you've enjoyed this segment. Please put down below in the comments what you think about all of this. And remember, y'all, you only get one shot at this life, so live each day to the fullest, because you never know what tomorrow's going to bring. So until next week, I'll see you next time. Bye, everyone. Have a great day.
Thank you.